Hello, today we are making fluffy homemade egg noodles. These are the kind of noodles that you can drop into chicken noodle soup or serve as a side dish. And we're mixing the dough in the Ankerstroom Assistant mixer. Now this is a recipe that is generations old and is normally made entirely by hand, but today we're going to take advantage of the power of this mixer to mix the dough for us. Hi, my name is Michelle. Welcome to my kitchen at Chocolate Box Cottage, the sweet spot between old-fashioned skills and modern conveniences. I'm here to help you create your slice of country living wherever you live. Well, today we're making fluffy homemade egg noodles with the Ankerstroom Assistant mixer. And I want to let you know right up front that you can get the printable version of this recipe at my website, chocolateboxcottage.tv. The recipe is available in US standard and in metric measurements. I've prepared our ingredients. We have 4 cups, or about 520 grams of flour, 1/8 a teaspoon of salt, a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, and 3 eggs, plus enough water to equal 1.5 cups or 350 milliliters. Now remember, you don't have to write any of this down. You can just go over to my website at chocolateboxcottage.tv and print off the recipe. The flour goes in the bowl first. Now, if you are a new Ankerstroom mixer owner, or perhaps you're considering purchasing this mixer and you'd like a little guidance on understanding how the controls work on this machine, you'll want to head over and see one of my bread making videos. You can watch either old-fashioned buttermilk bread with your Ankerstroom mixer or soft, fluffy matrimonial rolls with your Ankerstroom mixer. Both of those have a little segment that describes how these dials work and get you headed off on the right foot. But before we put the flour in the bowl, we need to sift it first. Grandma always sifted her flour when making knipfla. I use a whisk. It's a nice little shortcut. Whisking or sifting aerates the flour and contributes to that wonderful fluffy texture of the noodles. Okay, now we can add the salt. And the baking powder. And we'll whisk those in as well. Now we can add the flour to the bowl. Crack all 3 eggs into the liquid measuring cup and stir them with a fork. And then add water to get up to that 1.5 cup mark. And whisk a little more. Now, rather than pouring it all in at one time, we're going to pour it in gradually, and we may not use it all. We're going to use our baker's intuition here in noodle making and keep an eye on the dough and see how it comes together. Now we'll set the dial at 1 o'clock and turn the mixer on. And with the machine running, begin to pour in the egg mixture gradually. When I've added about 2/3, it's a good idea to pause. And look, we've got these nice loose crumbles. Add some more liquid. And we'll go ahead and add the last bit. Now remember, you don't have to dirty a spoon. You can just reach right in with the roller and move it around in the bowl. You can also move the scraper as needed and get that dough moving through the bowl. There we go. You can see the moment that it just took hold and it's starting to mix on its own. Sometimes you just have to trust the machine. So I'm going to let it mix for a minute or 2, or until the dough comes together into a smooth, non-sticky mass. And it's starting to want to hit the side of the bowl, so I can just move the arm away from the side a bit and position it closer to the middle so that the dough gets squeezed as it passes between the roller and the side of the bowl, that it won't bang against the side. Okay, now let's just touch the dough, reach right in here, and it feels, it's not very sticky. In fact, I can just pull it right out, and we've got a nice cohesive mass of dough. Well, I brought you over here to my baker's bench for the rest of our Knipfle noodle making operation, and I just want to take a minute and explain to you a little bit about my baker's bench. This, in a former life, was a shop table in our garage at our previous home. It came with the house and was in pretty poor condition, so my husband took the top off of it and he added a big slab of sugar pine for a nice surface, and it's been treated with many coats of my spoon butter cutting board conditioner, and I'll be sure to link that video below for you so you can take a look at that also. But this is a fabulous surface for baking projects. It's great for everything from rolling out pie crusts to cut out cookies, kneading bread dough, or just shaping various types of bread, as well as all my German from Russia and Norwegian ethnic dishes. It's a fantastic surface to have to work with. Now, of course, you don't have to have a baker's bench to make noodles. You can use your kitchen counter or your kitchen table, and that'll be just fine. Have you heard of the French term mise en place? There's no exact translation, but loosely translated, it means to set up your work area for efficiency so that it's just easy to do what you need to do. So I have my dough here in the bowl. I've got flour, a knife, rolling pin, flour wand, and cookie sheets for scattering the noodles once they're cut. I also have a pot on the stove heating with some water because we're going to cook some of these Knipfle at the end, and I'm going to treat you to a traditional German way of preparing and serving this side dish. It's so delicious. It brings back such good memories. First off, I'm going to flour the cookie sheets generously so that once the noodles are cut, they can be tossed over here. I really love using this flour wand. I'll try to remember to put a link to this below as well. It's just such a great tool for sprinkling flour. Now we're going to generously flour our work surface too. Don't be shy on the amount of flour here, because we don't want the noodles to stick together, so it's better to have a little too much flour. Okay, that's good for starters. And we're going to pull the dough out of the bowl. And I'm going to take this knife and I'm going to cut it into 6 pieces. Cut each of these halves into thirds. And then quickly shape each piece into a smooth ball and set them aside. I'm going to use the mixing bowl upturned over the dough so that it doesn't dry out while it's waiting for its turn to be rolled. And I'm going to start rolling out one. Put a generous amount of flour on top, and then I've got Grandma's rolling pin. And just start rolling it out. Aim for about 1/4 inch thick and more of an oval shape than a circle. If the dough resists you too much, you can always set it aside and let it rest for a few minutes, maybe just 5 minutes. The gluten will relax, then you can come back and it rolls out a lot more easily. I think we're pretty close here. I'm just going to give it a little bit more. We've got a nice oval shape here, and it's about 1/4 inch thick. So now we take the knife and cut right down the center, and then we add another cut on each half. Sprinkle some more flour. Don't be shy with the flour, and rub that in. And then stack the 2 end pieces on top of each other and the 2 middle pieces. And at this point, it's good to rub a little flour along the cut edges, and then you just start cutting. And these are about 1/4 inch wide. And they're not going to be all perfectly the same, but that's the beauty of handmade noodles, is that little bit of irregularity. All right, now toss them and pull apart any that maybe didn't get completely cut. Sprinkle on some more flour and toss them again. Now we can just scatter those on our prepared baking sheet. And start with the other piece. Now, you might be wondering why I'm not using a pasta roller. This is meant to be a thick, soft dough. I have honestly never tried using a pasta roller. I suspect it would not work well because it is a soft dough, too soft for the cutters on the pasta machine. So I just continue doing the cutting the way Grandma does it, and I find it a beautiful meditative activity. I don't mind doing it at all. Sprinkle some more flour, toss them together, and then we'll add those to our baking sheet. I've got 2 baking sheets prepared. We're going to spread the noodles from 3 balls of dough on each baking sheet. Grandma's in heaven now, but I enjoy thinking about her when I'm making her special recipe. This was my absolute favorite dish that she would make when my family would go visit at their home in Lodi, California. My grandparents farmed in Cullum, North Dakota, and retired to Lodi, California. And when we would go visit, I was always just in great anticipation of Grandma's knipfla. She usually served it with some type of meat. Could be chicken, could be a round steak that was simmered until it was really soft. Sometimes it was German sausage. Whatever it was, I always ate at least several helpings of knipfla, and Grandma would stand there at my elbow. She did not sit down when we ate. She would stand up and be ready to wait on everyone who was eating. And if she thought we weren't eating fast enough, she would kind of crowd our shoulder a little bit and say, "Eat, eat," just like the quintessential German grandmother that she was. So I do not begrudge the little bit of time that it takes to roll and cut these noodles. It's very meaningful and very special to me. And you'll find that when you get into a rhythm with this, it actually goes surprisingly quickly. Look at those beautiful noodles. I think Grandma would be proud. No, she probably would tell me what I was doing wrong. That was Grandma. Now this recipe doubles, triples, quadruples very easily. I use it as a way to preserve eggs in the heavy egg production season, and then I either freeze or dehydrate and then freeze the knipfla. If you're working with the Ankerstroom assistant mixer like we just did, you've got lots of bowl capacity there. You can easily use up a dozen eggs making knipfla and have them stored away in a very edible form. 2 trays of knipfla, homemade fluffy egg noodles. I'm going to put one of these in the freezer for later. I'll probably use them for soup, and I'm going to leave one right here to cook them up and eat. When you serve knipfla as a side dish, it's wonderful to have potatoes with it. So I've got this pot of boiling water here, and I'm going to add the potatoes first. Grandma would always use red skinned potatoes. They hold their shape well when they're boiled. We grew Yukon potatoes in our garden, so that's what I'm using, and she would have peeled them, but I just scrubbed them really well and diced them, and that'll be fine. I'm going to cook these until they are tender to the tip of a knife, and then instead of draining them in the sink, I will scoop them out with my skimmer and save the water to cook the knipfla. All right, let's see how these potatoes are doing. Oh, they feel nice, tender, but not mushy yet. So I want to get them out of the water and into a serving bowl. Grandma always served knipfla in a McCoy pottery bowl, and I carry on that tradition. I'm going to add a little bit more water to the pot. Well, that didn't take long. The water is back to a boil, and I'm just going to carefully drop these into the boiling water. You want to make sure that you choose a pot that is large enough to accommodate them. They're going to expand quite a bit, and they do create some foam when they boil, probably because of all that extra flour. So choose a pot where you can leave at least a couple inches of headspace at the top so you don't have a boil over. And keep an eye on it. Give them a stir to help separate the noodles. And then I'm going to set a timer for 15 minutes and come back and check. I don't know if you can see it, but the pan is starting to build up some foam and they're rising in the pot. So I'm stirring it, and I'm going to turn the heat down a little and keep an eye on it to prevent that boil over. We have a few minutes left on the knipfla before it's ready, and I have a skillet here heating on the stove. I'm going to add some butter, about 5 or 6 tablespoons, to the pan, and when it melts, I will add some breadcrumbs. I keep a jar of breadcrumbs in the freezer. These are just the heels from loaves of homemade bread or rolls that weren't going to get eaten in time. You can also use crumbled crackers. My mom usually used saltines, or you can use croutons, little cubes of dried bread. And we're going to fry those in the butter, and then we'll use that to dress our knipfla and potatoes. Well, that's our timer, so let's test the noodles. Bite into one and look for al dente. The butter is starting to sizzle, which is just what we want, so I'm going to add, probably half a cup of breadcrumbs. Spread them out and fry them. The crumbs have turned nicely crisp and a nice nutty brown color. So I'm going to add the potatoes back in, and I also drained the knipfla, so those are done. And I'll turn the heat off and just stir this together. You hear that sizzling? I wish you could smell this. So amazing. My husband will be happy when he gets home from work to see what we're having for dinner. Of course, you could serve it at the table right out of the hot skillet. That keeps the noodles nice and warm. Or you can do like my grandma did and put it in one of your best serving bowls and use your best wooden spoon to serve it. Look at this appetizing bowl of knipfla made in the traditional German way. Time for a taste. Got the soft chunks of Yukon Gold potatoes, and the noodles are just nice and fluffy, and those crisply buttered crumbs. So delicious. This makes a wonderful side dish. This was traditional at Grandma's house, and we sometimes have it on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. Very special dish to serve with meat for your family and make some memories of your own. Well, thank you for joining me today at Chocolate Box Cottage. I felt so blessed to be able to share this very special recipe with you. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.